All right.
Welcome, everybody, to the next edition of the Ragsdale Rumble. I am your host, Big Mike, and we are joined, as always, by our competitors. Raj, how are you doing tonight? Looks like you're ready for a fight.
I'm doing fantastically splendid on this beautiful New Year's Eve evening, Sunday. What's wrong?
I hate to cut you off, man. That fantastically splendid didn't sound convincing. I need some
Hey
more energy.
man, I've got a little early started early. I'm sorry, on my New Year's Eve partying, so I'm a little just in days here, but I'm hanging on by a thread. I've got my water, staying hydrated.
When he says he started his partying, he means he just fed a baby and put him to sleep. That's what he means. I meant partying hard, baby. Right. Okay.
Well,
was I not supposed to break the code?
Well, that is Raj, and you heard Herb also chime in. Herb, how are you tonight?
Man, I'm like holding on by a thread, trying to make it to midnight. Right. We're still roughly like 2 hours away. I don't know. I don't know that I'll see that. It might be a set an alarm for 11:59 kind of night. Get up, go. Woo!
Oh my god!
Wake up just in time to see the ball hit the ground. Yeah. And we go back to bed. I understand. Plenty of those as we get older. Like we've all been there. But this is the Ragsdale Rumble playoff edition, as you can see by the title. We are going to do things a little different. Still anybody's game. It is fairly close, but we are going to do things a little different. Obviously, we're all Alabama fans. You see the gear on our heads and chest and everything. So obviously, we're not going to pick against Alabama. So we're going to do things a little different in those games. We'll get to that when we get there. But we will start with the other game. I believe it's Texas and Washington. I haven't really kept up with it because all I'm worried about is the Alabama game. But it is the Texas Longhorns and the Washington Huskies in the Sugar Bowl for the semifinals. Raj, we will start with you. Who do you have and why?
Interesting game here. Interesting game. I'm really excited to see this one. I feel like out of the two playoff games, this is probably going to be the more high-octane, high-scoring game between Texas and Washington. You look at Washington, we all know about Penix Jr. and their offense all year, undefeated, beat Oregon twice, which is pretty impressive. Look on the other side, Quinn Ewers, obviously their one, well, not their one good win, I'm sorry. Their number one win was against us. I don't want to go too further into that discussion, but they had a good win there. Quinn Ewers looked good in that game, passing the ball to Xavier Worthy. With that being said, I think it's going to be a really, really good game. However, I feel like Texas's defense is going to get a few more stops than Washington's defense, and I think that's going to be the big determining factor of the game. With that being said, I'm going to give the edge to Texas, but it's not going to be a blowout on either end. I think it's going to be pretty high scoring, pretty good game. I'm really, really interested and excited to watch this one.
All right, Herb, do you agree? It sounded like you didn't pick Texas, correct, Raj?
I picked Texas, yes.
All right, Herb, do you agree? Do you have a different opinion?
I mean, and sorry, while you were talking, I was looking up. Xavier Worthy says he's still not 100%, so that's an interesting one for this matchup. But who knows what that means, and with an ankle injury, especially. This is one of those, like, I feel like Washington is in the perfect spot because, like Raj mentioned, with the two victories over Oregon, who we thought was the best team in the Pac-12. We said that several times on the show. Even after they, had lost to Washington, we're like, oh, they'll get them the second time. And then the disrespect of that line, 9.5
Oregon by like 9.5. Yeah.
Yes, like that is crazy to start there. And then you start to think about, you're undefeated. It's Pac-12. And you come in Texas with one loss, and you're the underdog in this.
Yeah.
So, not that you should ever have to motivate someone in the playoff. Like, if I'm in a playoff game and the guy next to me has to be motivated by the coach, like, I don't want that guy playing with me.
Yeah.
But having said that, I mean, Washington, I feel like, is in a great spot here. It almost feels like a Disney ending. Here's the last year of the Pac-12, undefeated season, Pac-12 champion, and you're going for this. So, you feel like Texas should be the more physical team across both lines, but I just feel like Washington is severely underrated in that. And I feel like Penix, it's like they want to crown Ewers, but I feel like he's still pretty up and down, as far as the seasons go. I feel like Penix will be more consistent throughout the game. I think they'll hit a couple big plays. And like Ryan said, I think this will be high octane. Hopefully we're feeling good after our game. Yeah. When we go into that game. Because you remember we were at the Cincinnati playoff game.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, let's go watch Georgia, Michigan. And by the time we got home, it was already over.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking, like, if we play bad and something doesn't go our way in our game, like, I'm not going to be excited to watch the next game. I'm going to be, like, so distraught and just like, why does this happen to us? But
we'll be on the phone talking like through the whole first half or something.
Yeah, and I'll watch this Texas-Washington game, but I just won't have the same type of energy. I'm just like, whatever, I don't care. We're not playing them anyway. So
yeah, I'm not gonna lie. If our game goes bad, which we obviously don't think it will, I don't even know if I'll watch it. I think I'll just be done with football for the moment.
It might, that's how.
That's one where your significant other says, "Hey, do you want to watch a movie?" And you go,
"Yes."
Okay.
We get. Yeah, let's watch Barbie. Yeah.
Hey, I'm not going to watch.
You went too far, Raj. You went too far.
You
went too far.
So, Herb, who are you picking, Herb?
So this is where I can't disagree with any of the Texas pick, but it's like I do think Washington will hit enough shots. I think the disrespect card. But also, like, that's the team I'm rooting for. If Bama didn't win the whole thing, Washington would be the team I would root for.
Okay.
You know, it's not even just. Well, no, I mean, because I've never hated on any Pac-12 teams for real. Washington seems like one of those programs. Like, why would you have anything against them? You know, versus like, I don't want to hear Texas is back for like a whole year. Like, that would bother me.
Trust me, that's annoying. Living here in Texas, that's extremely annoying because it's like once they win a big game, oh, Texas is back, and then they go on to lose a couple of games that they shouldn't have lost, and we realize Texas still is not back. So,
well, especially with them coming in the conference next year, it's going to make it twice as bad because even shows that you watch or listen to that are SEC centric, where you don't think you'll have to hear that, you still have to hear it next year. So that'll make it twice as bad.
Yep. So for that reason, I'm picking Washington because I think they can win this game. I like the underdog story to it. And this would be the team I would root for. This would be my second favorite team in the playoffs this year. So, and I like Penix, man. I really like his story. I like him bouncing back from all these injuries to make himself a viable NFL prospect. So all that combined, I'm going to pick Washington to win this game.
All right, well, there you go. One disagreement, one game. We do have, Raj going with Texas and Herb going with Washington. So that is anybody's game coming up in the Sugar Bowl. But now,
wait. What's Mike's pick for the game?
I don't know, man. I mean, that's I see everything you're saying with Washington's offense. Texas can move the ball as well. I think Texas's defense will kind of win out in the end. Even if it's just one more stop, kind of one of those games where I think Washington has had a bad defense all year. It's just not to the caliber of what Texas has played. And I've seen more of Texas, to be completely honest. So I mean, I would have to lean towards Texas. I would like to play Texas again just to avenge Alabama's loss as well. So you throw a little bit of bias in there too. So I would probably have to say Texas just because. The whole defense wins championships kind of thing, and I think if they can get one more stop on that good offense, more than Washington can. So Big Mike would pick Texas.
I have a question there for both of y'all, given part of what you just said there. I feel like, let's say Alabama wins. Mm-hmm. Are most Alabama fans pulling for Texas in the next game, or do we not care?
I think pulling for is a strong word.
Yeah.
I think they would rather play Texas.
Yeah. I personally don't think a lot of us would care. But me personally, I would rather play Texas to kind of avenge our loss. And I feel like I do want that test of us playing the team that beat us just to make sure, because for so long we've been saying, well, if we had played them now, the way we're playing now, we would have beat them. So I want to be able to prove that on the field.
Right.
But to answer your question, I think a lot of Bama fans probably either way, Texas, Washington, we're going to that game thinking we're going to win the Natty anyway. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Alabama, we will move on to the Rose Bowl. Alabama and Michigan, the number one team in the country. And as I said at the beginning of the video, you've heard all of us talk. We all think Alabama is going to win this game. So in order to keep up with the Ragsdale Rumble, I am going to change some stuff. I do need you guys to make a decision, and I will let actually, you know what? Herb, I'm going to let you set, and I'm going to let Raj pick. And what I mean by that is is we all think Alabama's going to win. So
Yes.
what you're going to do, Herb, is you are going to set a margin of victory.
I'm set.
You're going to set a line.
Okay.
Now that line does not exclude if Michigan wins. So if Michigan does pull off a miracle, this line covers that number as well. It is just a margin of victory.
Hey, miracle's strong. They're favored.
Yeah, they are favored by a point and a half. Now it was 2. Now that's like a point and a half. But who cares?
I'm setting. This is me setting.
But you will set a number. And Raj, you are going to pick over or under. And again, that goes for either team. So if he picks 10 points, if Michigan wins by over or under 10 points, that still counts.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it just gives us a little bit of look into of some kind of pick. That way we can move some of these since the records are so close in the Ragsdale Rumble. I want to have some movement in the games because I know we would all pick Alabama and there would be no movement. It would just be
so like if I say 7 and Raj says Alabama by more than 7.
All he has to do is say, it's over.
And then what?
So Herb's not saying a team; he's just giving a number.
No, yeah. All he's doing is giving a line. So he will say 7. You're going to say over or under, and if either team wins over and you picked over, you will win.
Gotcha.
If you picked under and they win by under, you will win. So you're just picking a general score difference. I guess is the best way to say it.
Gotcha.
But we will talk about the game a little bit. Obviously, we're going to go into some. To some things we like and don't like about the game. Obviously, if you have not seen Bama versus the World, where we talk to a Bama fan and a Michigan fan, go check that out as well. For some deep.
I heard that one was interesting.
It was. We had to, couldn't watch on our iPads, make sure nobody's stealing any signs or anything like that, But it was interesting, and you please go check that out. Make sure you're going to the Herbert Raj Podcast YouTube channel, like, subscribe, all that, so you see whenever we put out more videos and the live shows on Tuesday. But between the three of us, we will talk about tease of the game, what we think is going to happen. Obviously, we know who's going to win, and then we will set the line. And I will start with you, Herb, since Raj picked the last game first. What do you think? And we kind of heard from Raj earlier. What do you think Alabama's key to victory would be, or what needs to happen for Alabama to win this game?
I mean, Milroe's got to play a clean game. And a clean game doesn't just mean no turnovers. Don't take bad sacks. Like, they have a good defense. Do I expect our line, even though it's improving, to give up 0 sacks the whole game? No, I don't expect that. I expect to be a couple sacks here and there. But you got to have smart decisions in a game like this, especially Michigan really wants to, make this into a muck-it-up game, grind it out, slow, win in the fourth quarter. We've got to put ourselves in Milroe really. I hate that if I had said after games 2 and 3 of this year that all the national championships all going to ride on Milroe, everybody would have been like, oh no. But his improvement and his decision making has been better. Him and Reese have been better, on a better page, I think, lately. But to me, he's the number one key to this. If he either design runs or scramble runs, makes good decisions, hits the throws, I just don't see, we always say this, right? Nobody has a good defense for a mobile quarterback. They always say, well, Georgia doesn't have a good defense for a mobile quarterback. This team doesn't have a good. It's tough to game plan for, especially if you play in the Big Ten where nobody's a mobile quarterback,
Exactly.
So he's the key to me. He plays a clean game. Alabama can run away with this. The defense, I think our defense matches up well with what their offense wants to do. McCarthy does not really strike fear into your heart. They played the second half of Penn State without throwing a pass. I mean, you just never see that in the game.
I'm still confused about how Penn State managed to lose that game when all they did was run the ball in the entire second half. But
I mean, we've seen it that game and then Buffalo versus Dallas, NFL wise, and that's maybe 2 instances. Yeah. But at least in Buffalo, it was like they were dominating. Michigan, they were like, if we get something good here, fine. If we don't, we're punting, we're fine too. So there was an NFL game last year with the Patriots that Mac Jones threw 3 passes the entire game. And that was weather
oriented. Yeah. The wind was really bad. The wind, I forgot what the wind factor was that day, but they barely threw the ball. It was all running. Yeah.
So, but having been said all that, it's not even that we're not putting a lot of faith into McCarthy. It's Michigan isn't either. Right. And the McCarthy at the beginning of the year was more of a Heisman candidate, and I think he just really trailed off at the end of the year. Maybe as the competition got better, I don't know. But to me, Milroe's the biggest. I don't want to say X factor. He is the starting quarterback, but we go as he goes.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you mentioned JJ McCarthy. and I heard this report the other day, and I don't want you to tell me whether you think it's a mistake or not to do this. Apparently, they have used Tyler Buckner, who famously came in for the South Florida game and couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if it was on the field, and has decided to transfer to play lacrosse. Not even, I guess he just decides to quit football after this year. But he has been the J.J. McCarthy on the scout team.
I don't know if that's true, but I think that is a dig at Michigan, because when Harbaugh was asked about Milroe, he said that he's a more polished, whatever their backup quarterback name is. He said he's a more polished that. Yes. Yeah. So you say Alex Orji?
Yeah, it's ORJI. That's
okay. Look, I'm just okay.
You got to know. You should have just said Alex. He's been your brother for how long?
I didn't name the gentleman. Oh my god.
Wow. Anyway, so he said he's a more polished Alex Wild thing. So I feel like that report was a dig at Michigan to not anything else. If you were going to use somebody to simulate McCarthy running around, you would just use Milroe,
Yeah.
But also Ty Simpson is probably just as good, leg wise and throw wise. So
yeah, and that's why I kind of thought too. I don't know why they wouldn't use Simpson, because one, that would get him just more reps throwing the ball in case something happened and he had to go in. But I did think that was a little weird. But I'd heard it reported a couple times, and
I think it was a dig more than anything else. Yeah. I guarantee you Simpson is still getting plenty of reps, because I think the thing about having a quarterback, a running quarterback, your backup always has to be ready.
Yep.
And that's that's not a dig at Milroe. That's just how it is.
Yeah, and they asked him a couple of days ago, what his thoughts were. They actually asked him if he was planning on transferring, Simpson, that is, and he gave a really good answer. Look, we're just focused on Michigan. I want to be ready in case I have to come in. Kind of a stock answer, but just a really good, confident answer.
Why do you ask kids that though before the playoff semifinal? Like, what are they supposed to say? Oh, I'm out of here. The second we're done. Come on.
Yeah, I think a lot of these media scrums and press conferences and media days are just trying to get a sound. I mean, that's what it is. They're trying to get a sound bite like a kid. And they got a few of them. Obviously, the Milroe and Bill O'Brien thing that came out early this week about, BOB wanting to change positions and all that. That was a soundbite that you never thought you'd get. Yeah. And that's why you ask stupid questions like that, because you're hoping to get something that you can attach onto.
Right. But I felt like that was.
I think at that
Alabama's
point,
going to lose about
Milroe
15 to 20 in the transfer portal, I believe. Go ahead, Rod. I'm sorry.
I think Milroe at that point was just like, he was so tired of hearing about all the criticism of back when he used to play, earlier on in this season and everything prior to that. And he was, at this point, he's just like, look, it was said, Bill O'Brien said he's not with the team anymore, whatever the case may be. I'll suffer the repercussions if they come my way, but it is what it is. And it was said. But I don't think Milroe really cared. And I mean, they can run with that story as much as they want to. It can go back to Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien's probably going to say, I'm not going to comment, or I didn't say that. It's not going to blow up any more than that. So,
And I heard somebody make a comment on it too, that a lot of people don't mention. There's no way that Bill O'Brien was going to go to Milroe and say, hey, we want you to switch to, let's say, tight end. And if Milroe said yes, there's no way that Nick Saban hears about that on that day. That was a conversation had with Nick Saban beforehand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Bill O'Brien's getting a lot of hate, and I'm not a Bill O'Brien fan, but that conversation was also had to have been had with Nick Saban as well. Otherwise, Bill O'Brien should have been fired at that point if you're trying to get your people to change positions without even telling the head coach. But so, I mean, there's a lot to that we could always dive into. It's probably good for off-season banter that'll fill a show, but we will switch gears. I'll ask you the same thing, Raj. I know obviously Milroe's a big focal point of the team and the offense, but what do you think needs to happen for Alabama to win the game on Saturday, other obviously than Milroe?
I think we need, obviously Milroe is what Herb hinted on earlier, but I also think we need to take advantage of the big plays, the deep ball with that in general. I just think if we can get more, a few more of those deep ball plays and kind of set up the field and just kind of get things moving a lot quicker than later, then I really think that's going to give us the edge tomorrow. And also Amari Niblack, I think his advantage of China, and I feel like Niblack's been underutilized the entire year. I love Niblack, just to see him getting started early on the year, and then he kind of through the middle of the season, I don't want to say I forgot about him, but he wasn't getting the ball as much, and then that's when Burton kind of emerged as the number one receiver. Then Bond. But with I guess what I was trying to say was I would love to see him get more touches on the ball tomorrow and just spread the ball around, and that spreading the ball around between our tight ends and our receivers, and then that's just going to open the ball up for the running game as well. So
right, and to Roger's point, real quick,
yeah,
it feels like you either see Niblack through the whole game or not at all, and there's like no in between. Yeah. To your point, Raj.
I feel like he needs to get it. He needs to have 2 or 3 touches on every game. We need to be feeding Niblack as much as possible. He's got the size and he's got the speed.
Shout out to Bama Beat.
Yeah, shout out to Bama Beat.
Definitely.
Other than that, yeah, I mean, Herb already hit it on it. Milroe is going to be key. Doing what he did to Georgia, being able to pass the ball and run the ball effectively on both ends. I mean, I think that'll really give us the edge that we need. And I really don't think Michigan has seen a quarterback like Milroe all year. I even without looking at their schedule, I really just off the top of my head, I can't think of any quarterback in the Big Ten that plays like Milroe. So I understand they're getting Alex Wild thing to kind of mimic Milroe in practice, but they haven't played against anybody like that yet, and it's gonna be very upsetting for them. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the offense, and then our defense. I don't think they've seen a defense like ours either. And I mentioned this earlier. I just hope we can put enough pressure on McCarthy to make him uncomfortable. Maybe get him to scramble if necessary, or maybe make him make some unusual or questionable passes that result in interceptions on our end.
Yeah. And see, that's kind of where I'm different. Like, my key to the game wouldn't necessarily be anybody on the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think our defense would be stopping Blake Corum. If we can stop their running back, JJ McCarthy doesn't scare me in the slightest.
Yeah.
If he's got 10 seconds back to the throw, I don't know that he can throw. I haven't seen it enough. They've taken the ball out of his hands so many times this year and put it in Blake Corum's chest, and Blake Corum has piled everybody on his back and carried him to the end zone. Yeah. That's the only guy on the offense that scares me. I couldn't name one of their wide receivers.
And I don't remember the number, but it seems like in the past 5 Michigan games, McCarthy only has 3 to 5 touchdown passes. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I heard some stat like that 1 or 2 weeks ago, and I was like, wow. So to Mike's point again, I really can't tell you a lot of the receivers. I can't tell you any. I can't point out any great passes McCarthy has. It's just run the ball. Blake Corum. We heard about that, but that kind of plays into our favor as well. So we can stop the run. Georgia. We thought Georgia had a good running. Well, Georgia does have a good run game, but we pretty much kept that to a good standard in the SEC championship. So I feel like all of Michigan's strengths play to our favors on the defensive end. So I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, and I made a mention when I was on your show.
Raj, I'm sorry. There's one touchdown pass in their last 5 games.
One. I was way on the over.
He had 4 against Michigan State and 3 against Indiana.
And one.
And if you're looking at it, how many attempts has he had in those games? Just overall attempts. I'm curious.
He doesn't throw the ball a lot.
Yeah. So 30 against Iowa, which surprises me. Okay. And 37 against Purdue without a touchdown. So he did throw for 335 yards against Purdue. So after you get past that game, you get to Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State, Iowa. Again, in those games, the attempts were 8. We all know how Penn State was. 23, 20, and 30. 1 touchdown. So
even against Ohio State, he only had 148 yards passing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard some analysis talk about, Michigan protects the ball well. Well, do they? Or do they just not throw it, to put it in context?
Yeah.
Which is weird because this is a guy who was in the running for a Heisman early on. And now can I blame them for leaning on Corum? Because he's a great running back. The only reason why I don't mention him is strong running games don't scare me as much as, a strong passing game. That's usually where we get beat.
And Herb even hit it on this. I told him Milroe has more passing yards and more passing touchdowns than McCarthy, and Milroe missed the game. He didn't even play against the South Florida game, so that kind of gives us the edge up on the passing game as well. But
so that's why that would be kind of my key, because I think even if Milroe has not necessarily a bad game but an okay game, I think as long as our defense steps up and stops the run and forces JJ to throw the ball, I think Milroe doesn't have to have an extremely great game. That people may think he has to have.
Maybe not a great game, Mike, but I guess to that point, because you're 100% right in what you're saying about it. And McCarthy is definitely going to be the key on the other side. Corum, if we can corral him early, that's great. What I'm saying, though, is I'm okay with having to punt a couple times and give it back to them versus here's the pass thrown back across the field, interception, short field. Michigan on the short field, very dangerous. So that's why I'm saying more of a clean game than just have a spectacular game. Like, just don't have
I got
a bad
you.
game is kind of more
I
what I'm
agree
saying.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
but no, you're absolutely right. And I don't mean to slight Corum like at all. So it's just I read where somebody was talking about matchups and how this is one of the worst matchups for Michigan. I feel like our team is built to take on physical running games, and that's kind of like Georgia really hurt us when Beck was really stepping up. Like that first drive, he was cutting us to pieces. But when they try to lean on the running game and try to get physical with us, that didn't work. So that's what I feel about Michigan. So it's no disrespect to Corum or what they built there, and I think their defense is great. But I do think that this is a good matchup for us. And if one team's going to be dynamic through the air, I think it's going to be us, not them.
Yep.
So I guess we'll flip it on its head. And I know it's easy to talk about the reverse of what we just talked about. So I'm going to go doomsday scenario. You matter if you want to. You look at the score at the end of the Rose Bowl and Michigan wins. What happened?
McCarthy had a great game.
McCarthy
he did a couple timely scrambles. He hit some receivers when it was time, and they went over the top. And maybe opened it up a little, had us on our heels, and that's when Corum came on with a big game. But I don't think it's like Corum has a big game, then McCarthy has a big game. I think the doomsday scenario is McCarthy has a good game, and then Corum has a finish it off game. That's what I think.
I feel like it'll be a summation of us just beating ourselves. And I hate to use that cliche term, but Alabama we just beat ourselves if Michigan happens to win. And then too many turnovers probably on the offense would kind of obviously lead into their favor. But again, this is a doomsday scenario, and I really don't see it happening, but there is the possibility.
All right. And with that, we will get to the pick here. So Herb, now that we've had some discussion, you've heard your opinions, some of our opinions. What do you think the margin of victory will be? Obviously, we think it's Alabama, but at the end of the game, what do you think the margin of victory will be for the winning team?
13.
Okay, 13 seems fair. Raj, after everything, kind of same question. Do you think that the winning team will be more than 13 or less?
I'm going to say more because
I like it. I'm sorry, Raj. I got to say this. Yeah. It worries me how confident that we are. That's the only thing that kind of makes me want to temper my expectations.
Yeah.
But like, I can't disagree with Raj because I feel like what did I say before? 3 outcomes for this, because this is what I listened to Ole Miss podcast before the Georgia game, and I listened to Alabama stuff before the Georgia game, and their outcomes was Georgia wins big, Georgia loses by a little, or the other team wins by a little. But there was no scenario where the team playing against Georgia won by a lot, and that's what I feel like going into Michigan. I feel like Michigan in a tight game, Alabama in a tight game, Alabama in a blowout. I would be shocked if it was Michigan in a blowout.
Yeah,
that's
so
very. That means with Raj picking the over, that's got to make you feel pretty comfortable because that gives you 2/3 of a chance to win. If you think Michigan has no chance of a blowout, so it's got to be a close game.
Yeah, but I mean, given my record on picking games, I might have just doomed this whole thing.
That's possible as well.
Yeah,
no problem. So obviously, we all think Alabama's going to win. Roll Tide. Yeah. We all love that. Herb thinks it will be by 13 points exactly, or under, I guess, at that point. Raj thinks it's going to be an over. And that will be our pick going into the Ragsdale Rumble.
I'll never be happier for me to be wrong. Like, oh, Raj. Oh, Raj.
And I know we didn't talk about this, so we'll have a little bit of behind the scenes on the air. Do we want to go ahead and do next week, or do we want to do a championship review by itself? I'll let you guys decide that tonight.
By itself. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I figured
because if Alabama loses the championship preview like this.
Yeah. Who cares?
Somebody. And again, no, I'm not going to say it. I was going to say something that was going to end it on a bad note, but I'll shut up and end it on a good note. And as we get closer to the new year, it is currently about a little less than 2 hours away here from the time zone that we're at. I would like to say thank you guys for a great 2023. Being a part of all this, and hopefully 2024 will be even better. I know we've all said we will probably be in bed by the time midnight gets here.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully you have a great New Year's Eve.
Same here. You too.
And do you guys have any? Herb, we'll start with you. Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
To watch more Alabama football.
Okay.
So are you going to like go back and watch old game film? Because that's hard to do because we watch every second of every game.
Well, yeah, maybe more highlight stuff. It was funny. Raj and I are hanging out for the last week, and I hear stuff, and all of a sudden I look over, and here's Raj watching the 50 greatest plays from Alabama and stuff, and I'm like,
it was the greatest plays under the Nick Saban era. So, whenever we're not playing, and whenever we haven't played for long enough, I have to watch these like old highlights just to kind of keep me in the spirit. So with that being said, I'm just really excited about tomorrow, and I hate the fact that we don't play until 4. That means I know kill time all day, and my wife even says she wants to go to IKEA, and I'm like, okay, sure, let's go. What time? I have to kill time. I got to go somewhere. So
there's football on. I sit at home and watch that.
You know what? I asked her if they're open. She said she doesn't know. So I guess we'll call in the morning and find out if they're closed, and so be it. But I'm just trying to get out the house and get back by 4. So
I will say this on a serious note about, especially given with this, my goal for next year is to put out more content. And get more out of this channel. I will say that. And it's been a pleasure, man, working with you guys. The pick segment just went to another level thanks to you, Mike. So definitely appreciate that, man.
Yes. Shout out to Mike. So, even though he's here, I'm still shouting him out. So.
Yeah, still shouting. But you have to whisper. Your babies are sleeping, so you're like, shout out to Mike.
They're actually not sleeping. I hear them. But
is that why you want the segment to keep going?
So, Raj, 2024 is going to go with a full year analysis.
I know. No, on my end too, it's the same thing. I want this channel and this podcast to continue to grow for all of us. I'm just keep on producing content, taking a good analysis of what we're talking about, what we're not talking about. And I guess I'm also interested to see what we're going to tackle during the off season, especially after the NBA Finals in June. That little layover until August gets here, because I think next 2024 schedule, I want to say our first game is last week of August. It's like August 29th or August 30th. I forgot what day that is. Yeah, but anyway, just seeing what we tackle during there, whether it's entertainment, whether it's movies, or whatever the case may be. But overall, I just want this channel to grow. I want this podcast to grow. I want this to be good for all of us. And as long as we're happy doing it, let's keep doing it, man.
Love it.
I can't argue with that. And you guys know, anything I can do to help out, in front of the camera, behind the scenes, whatever I need to do. I'm here for you guys. I just want to help you guys grow, because you guys deserve it. You guys are awesome.
Yep.
Not only hosts, but people. I know we joke around and knock on each other a lot, but you guys are great to me and great friends. So I really appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Likewise.
Keep it going.
Yep.
So with that, we will end 2024. Hopefully everybody has a great New Year day tomorrow. Don't drink too much. Drink responsibly. Stay hydrated so you're not too hungover to watch some games or go to IKEA, I guess. Yeah. With that, hopefully everybody has a great day. And as always, roll Tide.
Roll Tide, everybody.